Say hello, I'm Leif Batell, and I'm talking with my friend and colleague and fellow English teacher Asma Mohammad about teacher burnout or demoralization and their differences. So, I guess, Asma, the thing with me
Mhm.
is I had known that they were related, but I honestly hadn't given that much thought about the difference in language and stuff before
Mhm.
because I've certainly been demoralized and frustrated, but I had never gotten to the point of burnout, which
Right.
Um, Santoro defines as just absolutely being completely done, um,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. I had never gotten there. So whereas demoralization, it seems you can come back.
Mhm.
So I don't know where do you want to start?
Um, I mean, I think we could just touch base on both and go from there, I guess, and how each of those two things could be solved, I guess.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, burnout seems like I think demoralization can lead to burnout, but it doesn't
Mhm.
have to lead to burnout. And that
Well,
was kind of you referenced the solutions, how they can be solved, and that's where the article ended, and that's what I really liked. I mean, the very first, Santoro's comments were, I hope schools would have a series of conversations with teachers to try and reinvigorate them, try and regenerate them, bring them back from going into a possible burnout. And I don't know, I really like that. I do think it starts by talking with teachers and not just trying to solve the problem without teachers.
I personally haven't been out here, but that's because
Oh, hello?
hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
Hi. So I've only been teaching for 2 years, so I don't think I've ever been to the point where I'm just like, I'm done with this. I mean, there have definitely been classes or days when I felt like, this is a lot to take on. But I feel like that's common in every job. There are just some overwhelming days. I don't. Yes, I've seen teachers who have been done, but I feel like it's been more of like done with the situation that they're in. I've never seen
Mm-hmm.
a teacher who's just been like, I'm done with teaching altogether.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, you've been in the one second. You've been in the teaching business for longer than I have, so I'm sure you've possibly seen that.
Yes, and whenever I have seen that, the problem is
Mhm.
not just like a bad day here or there, like you're talking about. Everybody has those. Everybody
Right.
gets demoralized and stuff like that.
Right.
The burnout stems from like I don't feel that feeling where the teacher doesn't feel like they can do anything, they can make a difference, they can do their job. It's not a
Right.
personal thing; it's more a systemic thing.
Mhm. Right.
Um,
And I feel like in the article it talked about whether or not it's going to be changes based on technology or whatever, but they need to find a problem because teaching is such an important part of our society and other people's society. I mean, being a teacher is one of the most, I think, rewarding jobs that there is just because you
mhm.
get to see these people learn in your classroom and stuff. So I think this pandemic has also sort of um, brought people's attention to the importance of teachers, and hopefully that changes how they're treated and how they're expected to be treated.
Oh,
Um,
oh my gosh, yes. I mean, if there's
yeah,
ever, I mean, we see those bumper stickers, that say those cute little cliches, if you
yeah,
can read this, thank a teacher kind of thing. And
mhm,
everybody, face to face, they do stand up for teachers, but I do think right now we're really seeing their value in just how many hats we wear, what we actually do,
mhm,
how
right,
tough it is as we all kind of scramble around to deal with what
mhm,
the consequences of this whole COVID-19
right,
pandemic. And for me, the most demoralizing thing for me has been the fact that I can't be in my classroom. I can't be in front of those
Right.
students and stuff like that. I can't see them growing and progressing and stuff like that. And I think that's where the difference between demoralization and burnout is I can get demoralized with, okay, I have to set up my grade book this certain way.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, that's not what I want. That's not what I would do, but I can still deal with that. Like I'm still making a difference with my
Mhm.
students. Um, but if I feel that a policy or a technology like the gradebook or Rubicon, the curriculum
Right.
builder we use, gets in the way of me actually reaching the students,
I
that's
agree.
when that's when demoralization can lead to something more.
Mhm. And I feel like I don't. I mean, I remember my grades always mattering, but I feel like students are stressed out more nowadays about their grades than I ever was. And I think it's more toward. I think it might be because we know that you're not going to get a good job unless you get an education. That's what we've been told. That's what we're trying to enforce in our students. We're trying to keep them in school so that they can get into colleges, so that they can get a good job. But I honestly also think that higher education might not be for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And us constantly telling them, you need to do this, you need to do this so that you can get into a good college. I mean, I feel like we miss out on the simple lessons that we're supposed to be teaching them about being a good human being,
Yes.
um, about how to do things if they choose that they don't want to get a higher education.
Mm-hmm.
What are their other options? And I know that some teachers do that, but it's not something that's looked upon greatly because we want them to be in colleges. We want
Mm-hmm.
them to do those things, and so I feel like we tailor it to those students and we forget about the rest and we leave those students behind. And I feel like we're missing out on a lot by limiting their horizons that way.
Oh, absolutely. And when those things just build on each other, when we're just trying to focus on, okay, get the grade, to do well on the test, to get into the college, to get the job, and all these things kind of fall into place, and the layers just keep building up like that. I can see
Mhm.
why people can become burnt out with that because it's just, I mean, if I got to hear another spiel or email about the importance of the test scores or something
Right.
like that, or the GPA or the grades, and especially like it is wearing on the kids too, which is another, it's not just the administration, it's we see these changes in the process happening in our students, and our students aren't as interested in the learning as they are just in the grade.
Right.
And
Exactly.
yeah, and it just one thing builds on each other until you might get burnt out unless you do things to make sure that you bounce back from that, because boy, there's just so many changes. And like when I was reading the article and it talked about specifically the technology piece, um,
Mhm.
and it actually says, the using software to build lesson plans that the district purchased and stuff. I was like
Mhm.
thinking of Rubicon and just how annoying that can be at times, because
Right.
it's like, okay, I have what I want to do here and I have the big picture elements and I want to talk to students about real learning and real growth, and the emails that I'm getting aren't about me reaching my students and things like that. They're about, well, you need to, change the formatting to be like this, or and it's just like, whoa, 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 whoa. I went into this profession to, for students to make a difference
Mhm.
there, and you're not even giving me feedback there.
Right. Yeah, even some of the PDs that we had this year, we came in under the guise of, this is how to be a positive teacher, this is how to do this, this is how to do this, and then all of the meetings ended up being about different things, I noticed, and it didn't really end up being about what it was. It was just telling us, use your what are those things called? Referral sheets and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, that's not how I want to be a positive teacher. I don't want to have to fill out more worksheets.
Right.
I don't want to fill out more forms.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, I mean, we're always going to have discipline problems. We're always going to have students who act out, but that's because we're dealing with children. We're dealing with students who are going through other things in life.
Yeah.
Like placing such an emphasis on grades the way that we do. I mean, I have students coming to me today asking how they can raise their grades who haven't even done any of the work that I've assigned them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just coming last minute. They didn't care if they learned anything throughout this whole time. All they care about is how can I raise my grade up so that on my report card I'm passing. And I mean, it doesn't only come from administration's side, though. I feel like it has a lot to do with society and parents, and how much of an emphasis they put on grades instead of. I mean, I've never heard a parent say, "I just want my child to learn."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's always been, "How can my child get a better grade in your classroom?" Mm-hmm. And I feel like we need to unlearn that as a society.
It's just the question's always like, how do they get an A? Or how many times have you heard, or another teacher has said, a kid got a 97 on a test, but the parent came in and says, what can you do to earn these 3 more points or whatever? And it's like, whoa, like we're missing, like the point of the test is not to get 100%. Like that's you're right. It's not just admin, it's not just technology, it is kind of the culture that's been created here is so far different from why so many of us went into teaching.
Right.
And then, something you said a moment ago, and I forgot it. I should have just jumped in with the oh well, a point. Shoot. Said something really good a second ago that I wanted to jump in. It had something to do with it might not have been the grades or something related to our schools, like policy on grading now with the COVID thing. Yeah, it just became about the grades, just became about passing.
And my students are just now jumping in today and asking me how they can raise their grade.
That's it. It has nothing to do with learning and progressing and growth or anything like that. It's just, how do I do the bare minimum to pass? It's just like, okay, we couldn't see through all this and nobody set this up, but it's like these policies that have entered, and it's nobody's one specific fault or anything like this. I think every district is probably struggling with this, but like these are the things that can lead to burnout because they get in the way of what we're really trying to do. Because I would like to build on the instruction that we were working on, before this COVID-19 thing, and then the challenges just went up exponentially, not just with the distance, but with the policy changes, and it's just, it's just so much. It's very, very hard to take as an educator.
And I feel like as soon as the students I think a lot of the students found out that, they were going to pass no matter what, or their grades weren't going to be affected. I mean, as soon as you tell them that, you put sort of like blinders on them. They're like, okay, we don't have to worry about this anymore because the society only looks at grades instead of, are you learning? And I feel like maybe we need to,
their person, their character.
Right. And I feel like maybe we need to change the grading system completely, because I hate nothing more right now than grading assignments. Because even if I have students who do excellent and they deserve the grade that I'm giving them, and then I have students who aren't learning and I just have to not put in a grade, and it's not going to affect them anyways. So what's the point? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting in all this work if it doesn't count? And that frustrates me because it's like, this is pointless.
Oop, hang on 1 second, because we're about at the end of this first 15 minutes. We're going to continue talking on the next link. Thank you.